They called him a beast, a monster locked in chains. No one remembered when exactly the rumors started, but by the time the traveling circus rolled into town, the stories had already poisoned every curious heart. Towering at over 6.5 feet tall, with a wild mane of tangled hair, deep-set eyes, and hands like shovels, the man inside the iron cage became a sideshow attraction overnight. A sign nailed to the bars read, "Mountain Man, last of his kind, dangerous, do not approach." People gathered in droves, tossing coins and whispering legends. Some said he had eaten his own family. Others claimed he was raised by wolves deep in the Black Ridge Mountains. Children clung to their mothers. Men pointed with nervous laughter. Women turned their heads, unsettled. He sat quietly behind the bars, unmoving, eyes vacant. He didn't growl. He didn't roar. He just watched them, expressionless. No one knew his name. No one cared. He was the monster in the cage, and that was enough. Until she came. Evelyn was not like the others. She was a widow, dressed in a long black lace dress, a silver locket resting gently against her chest. Her posture was elegant but weary. She had lost her husband the winter before, and since then, she lived alone on a modest apple farm in the valley. Her sorrow had made her quiet, but it had not made her cruel. That day, Evelyn arrived at the circus without a word. She ignored the food stalls and carnival games, walking straight to the tent where the mountain man was kept. The crowd parted when they saw her. The woman in mourning black approached the cage without hesitation. She didn't flinch when she saw him. She didn't gasp or turn away. Instead, she looked into his eyes and softly asked, "What's your name?" He didn't respond. But for a flicker of a moment, something in his eyes changed. Not fear. Not rage. Just awareness. Like someone waking from a long sleep. The crowd whispered behind her, laughing at her foolishness. But Evelyn didn't care. She stayed for several minutes, quietly observing, before turning on her heel and walking away. Later that afternoon, she approached the ringmaster, a short, red-faced man with a whip and a voice like gravel. When she asked if she could speak to the mountain man again, he snorted. "You want to talk to that thing? He don't talk, lady. He's barely human." She reached into the pocket of her coat and pulled out something small and gold. A wedding ring. "I want to buy him," she said calmly. "With this." The ringmaster blinked. "You what?" "I want to take him home." He laughed, then realized she wasn't joking. That man's worth more in ticket sales than any piece of gold. Besides, he's dangerous. Evelyn held up the ring, letting the sunlight catch it. "It's all I have left of my husband. This farm used to be ours. I'll give you this ring, and you give me the man." He hesitated. Greed was always louder than reason. Eventually, he nodded. "Fine. But if he kills you, it's on you." The townspeople gathered again, this time to watch something they never thought they'd see, Evelyn unlocking the cage and stepping back. He didn't leap. Didn't snarl. Didn't run. He just stood. Slowly, stiffly, as if the earth beneath him felt foreign. Then he stepped out, blinking against the light. Some screamed. Others ran. Evelyn just nodded to him and said, "Come." And he did. They walked back to the valley in silence. Evelyn didn't speak, and neither did he. But something unspoken passed between them, something simple, like recognition. At the cottage, she fed him warm broth and left him clean clothes. He didn't touch the food at first. Then, slowly, spoon by spoon, he ate. He sat on the porch in the evenings, watching the stars. She named him Silas. He never spoke. But he listened. And he helped. He chopped wood. Repaired the broken barn door. Pulled weeds from the apple orchard. Each day, his movements grew steadier. Softer. More human. There was no rage in him. Only silence. One day, Evelyn heard a sound she hadn't expected. A low, soft humming. She peeked around the corner and found Silas sitting near the fireplace, humming an old mountain lullaby. Her breath caught in her throat. That melody, she knew it. Her grandmother had sung it to her in a village that no longer existed. Her heart raced. The next morning, she went into town, to the old records hall. She spent hours flipping through dusty birth logs and missing persons reports until she found what she feared and hoped she would. Silas Whitmore. Born 37 years ago. Son of Joseph and Ruth Whitmore. Disappeared during a rockslide while on a family trip in the Black Ridge Mountains. Presumed dead. But he hadn't died. He had survived, alone, with no voice, no name. Lost in the wild where time moved differently, where words disappeared and instincts took over. She returned to the cottage with the papers, eyes rimmed red. He was sitting on the porch, as usual. She sat beside him and placed the documents in his hands. He looked at them for a long time. Then looked at her. And for the first time, he spoke. Voice broken, gravelly. Home. It was just one word. But it was enough to shake her to the core. Word spread. At first, people came to gawk again. But they didn't find the monster they remembered. They saw a man repairing fences, tending to trees, feeding chickens. Children who had once screamed at the sight of him now offered him apples. One little boy pulled on his sleeve and asked, "Mr. Silas, are you strong?" Silas knelt and smiled. "Strong enough to forgive," he said softly. The man who had once been caged now fixed wagons, helped neighbors, and read slowly from Evelyn's old books. She taught him letters, and he taught her patience. In time, the circus was forgotten. The sign that once called him dangerous burned in the fireplace. Years passed. Evelyn, now older, fell ill during a cold autumn. Silas stayed by her side, night after night, humming the same lullaby. Before she passed, she placed her hand over his and said, "You were never the beast, Silas. The real beasts were the ones who put you in that cage." After her funeral, the cottage was quiet for a long while. Then, gradually, it came alive again, not with sorrow, but with purpose. Silas turned the farm into a refuge. He took in lost children, wounded veterans, people society had cast aside. The broken and misunderstood found solace beneath the apple trees. At the edge of the property, a wooden sign was nailed into the earth. All are welcome. Even monsters. People came from miles away to visit the farm, to hear the story of the man who had once been feared and mocked, and the woman who gave up her wedding ring to save him. Some said it was madness. Others called it grace. But those who stayed long enough saw the truth. It only takes one person to unlock a cage. And it only takes one act of kindness to turn a monster back into a man.